Clark Gable's gravesite proves he never recovered from the tragic accident. Clark Gable was an iconic figure in Hollywood's golden age, often referred to as the King of Hollywood due to his immense popularity, enduring talent, and commanding on-screen presence. Born on February 1, 1901, in Cadiz, Ohio, as William Clark Gable, he rose from humble beginnings to become one of the most celebrated actors in American cinema. His journey to stardom was not immediate, as Gable endured years of struggle and rejection before finally finding success, which made his ascent even more remarkable. Over the course of his career, Gable embodied a combination of rugged masculinity, charm, and sensitivity, which won him the admiration of audiences and peers alike. Clark Gable's early life was marked by hardships and challenges that shaped the man he would become. His mother passed away when he was just 10 months old, leaving him to be raised by his father, William Henry Gable, an oil driller. His father's rough-hewn lifestyle and blue-collar work ethic influenced young Gable deeply. As a teenager, Gable dropped out of high school and worked a series of odd jobs, including as a farmhand and a factory worker, to make ends meet. Despite the bleak outlook of his early years, Gable was always drawn to the world of entertainment, particularly the theater. In his early 20s, Gable decided to pursue his dream of becoming an actor, a goal that seemed nearly impossible for someone from his background. Gable moved to Hollywood in the early 1920s, where he struggled to break into the industry. He worked as a theater actor in traveling productions and minor films while studying acting and improving his stage presence. His early forays into film were unsuccessful, and Gable's rugged appearance initially led casting agents to dismiss him as too rough for leading man roles. However, he refused to give up and eventually honed his craft, working tirelessly to refine his acting skills. His persistence paid off when he was discovered by talent agents and signed by MGM Studios, where he would go on to become one of the biggest stars of the 1930s and 1940s. Clark Gable's breakthrough role came in 1931 when he starred in A Free Soul, opposite Norma Shearer. His portrayal of a charismatic but dangerous gangster electrified audiences and caught the attention of Hollywood's elite. MGM Studios quickly recognized Gable's star potential and began casting him in more prominent roles. His commanding presence, deep voice, and natural charisma on screen made him a favorite among both female and male moviegoers. Gable's breakout success in A Free Soul was followed by a string of major hits, including Red Dust, 1932, It Happened One Night, 1934, and Mutiny on the Bounty, 1935. One of Gable's most iconic performances came in Frank Capra's It Happened One Night, a romantic comedy that earned him widespread acclaim. Playing the role of a down-on-his-luck reporter who helps a spoiled heiress, Gable demonstrated his versatility as an actor. His comedic timing, coupled with his effortless charm, made the film a box office success. Notably, Gable's performance in the film earned him the Academy Award for Best Actor, cementing his status as a Hollywood leading man. His role in It Happened One Night also helped redefine the romantic comedy genre, blending humor with an authentic emotional connection between the characters. Clark Gable's career reached its pinnacle in 1939 when he portrayed Rhett Butler in Gone with the Wind, one of the most famous and beloved films in cinematic history. Based on Margaret Mitchell's novel, the film is set during the American Civil War and Reconstruction era, with Gable playing the role of the dashing, morally ambiguous Southern gentleman who falls in love with the fiery Scarlett O'Hara, played by Vivien Leigh. Gable's portrayal of Rhett Butler remains one of the most iconic performances in film history, and his famous line, "Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn," is one of the most quoted lines of dialogue in cinema. Gone with the Wind was a monumental success, both critically and commercially, and it solidified Gable's place as a legendary actor. Despite initial reluctance to take on the role of Rhett Butler, Gable's performance became the gold standard for leading men in Hollywood. The film won multiple Academy Awards, including Best Picture, and Gable's portrayal of Rhett Butler made him a household name worldwide. His chemistry with Vivien Leigh was electric, and the film's epic scope, lavish production, and enduring themes of love, loss, and resilience helped Gone with the Wind become a cultural touchstone for generations of moviegoers. While Gone with the Wind marked the height of Gable's career, He continued to star in successful films throughout the 1940s and 1950s. However, his personal life was often marred by tragedy. Gable's third wife, actress Carole Lombard, whom he had married in 1939, was tragically killed in a plane crash in 1942 while returning from a war bond tour. Her death devastated Gable, and he enlisted in the United States Army Air Forces shortly after, serving as an aerial gunner and officer during World War II. Gable's service during the war earned him the respect of his peers and the public, further enhancing his image as a man of both strength and vulnerability. After the war, Gable returned to Hollywood, but his films during the 1940s and 1950s, though successful, did not reach the same heights as his pre-war projects. Some notable films during this period include The Hucksters, 1947, Magambo, 1953, and Run Silent, Run Deep, 1958. His appeal remained intact, but Hollywood was changing, and Gable, though still a major star, found it increasingly challenging to navigate the evolving landscape of the film industry. Nonetheless, his enduring charm, professionalism, and work ethic continued to make him a popular figure in cinema. In 1960, Gable took on what would be his final role in The Misfits, directed by John Huston and written by Arthur Miller. Co-starring Marilyn Monroe and Montgomery Clift, the film was a poignant reflection on aging and the decline of the Old West, themes that mirrored Gable's own career. Tragically, Gable died of a heart attack shortly after filming The Misfits, on November 16, 1960. His death marked the end of an era for Hollywood, as Gable was one of the last great stars of the studio system. Clark Gable's gravesite serves as a poignant reminder of the profound grief and heartache he carried throughout his life, much of which stemmed from a devastating personal tragedy that he was never able to fully overcome. Gable, known to the world as the King of Hollywood for his iconic roles and charismatic screen presence, was privately a man haunted by loss. His grave, located at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Glendale, California, tells a story far deeper than that of a legendary movie star. It symbolizes a man deeply affected by sorrow. The tragic accident that forever altered Gable's life occurred on January 16, 1942, when his beloved wife, Carole Lombard, died in a plane crash while returning from a World War II Bond rally. Lombard was not only Gable's third wife but also the love of his life. Their marriage had been filled with laughter, affection, and a deep emotional bond, and her sudden, untimely death devastated him. Lombard's plane, a TWA Flight 3, crashed into Potosi Mountain in Nevada, killing all 22 people aboard. At the time, Gable had been eagerly awaiting her return to their Encino ranch, only to be shattered by the news that she was gone forever. In the aftermath of Lombard's death, Gable was inconsolable. Friends and colleagues noted that he was never the same man after the accident. The grief he experienced was overwhelming, and it was said that he never fully recovered from the loss of Lombard. His once vivacious and charming personality became more subdued, and he sought solace in work, throwing himself into movie roles and ultimately enlisting in the U.S. Army Air Forces as a way to cope with his grief. Some believe that Gable's decision to join the war effort was not only a patriotic act but also an attempt to escape the pain of losing Lombard, as if he hoped the dangers of war might help numb the unbearable sadness he felt. After World War II, Gable returned to Hollywood, but the shadow of Lombard's death continued to loom over him. Although he remarried twice, neither relationship seemed to bring him the happiness he had found with Lombard. His later years were marked by an air of melancholy, and those close to him remarked that Gable never stopped mourning his lost love. His passion for acting dimmed, and his heartache was evident even in his professional life, where his performances, though still celebrated, often carried a subtle weight of sadness. Gable's iconic role as Rhett Butler in Gone with the Wind and his subsequent films showcased his talent, but behind the scenes, the man was forever changed. In 1960, when Gable passed away from a heart attack at the age of 59, it was no surprise that he chose to be buried next to Carole Lombard. His gravesite, located just a few feet away from hers in the Sanctuary of Trust section at Forest Lawn, reflects the depth of his enduring love for her. The simplicity of their final resting places, marked with plaques that bear their names, stands in stark contrast to the glamour and fame they both experienced in life. In death, Gable was reunited with the woman who had meant everything to him, suggesting that even in his final moments, his thoughts remained with her. The gravesite has since become a place of pilgrimage for fans of both Gable and Lombard, who come to pay their respects not only to Hollywood royalty but also to a love story that transcended death. For many, Gable's decision to be laid to rest beside Lombard is a testament to the fact that he never fully recovered from her loss. While his films and legacy as one of the greatest actors in Hollywood history remain, the story of his personal heartbreak is an inseparable part of his identity. His grave is a solemn reminder that no amount of fame, fortune, or professional success could fill the void left by Lombard's absence. Even decades after his passing, the story of Gable's enduring grief continues to resonate with those who visit his final resting place, a somber reflection of the man behind the myth of the King of Hollywood. In many ways, Clark Gable's gravesite symbolizes the ultimate truth of his life: that despite his fame and accomplishments, he was, at his core, a man who had loved deeply and lost tragically. His inability to recover from the accident that took Lombard's life is a tragic element of his story, reminding us that behind every Hollywood legend lies a real person with real pain. Gable's grave, alongside Lombard's, serves as a timeless reminder that some wounds never heal and some loves never fade.